Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
Of course, and we are back on the Ted Cruz book beat. You are reporting You're reporting Ted Cruz's campaign spent a pretty penny on books the month after his latest one was published. The book in question is entitled Unwoke: How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. So first, what can you tell us about the book?
It is the senator's fourth book that he's published, all while he's been a U.S. senator, so it seems to be a pretty busy side hustle there. Like his previous, all of them have made the New York Times bestseller list. Unwoke, though, was flagged for bulk sales. If the New York Times says that retailers report bulk sales, they'll put a little dagger next to the listing. And like two of the other previous three books, this one had that dagger next to it. So, obviously, it's who made those bulk sales is the question that we're looking into.
So that's the question I was going to ask you. Who made those book sales? Now, I know you don't know for certain, but you do know that his campaign was able to spend a lot of money on books. First, how much money was that, and how were you able to figure that out?
Well, all told, his campaign has spent $53,000 on books in the last quarter of last year. And we were able to figure that out because it's just listed there on campaign finance filings. If you look at the FEC records, search Ted Cruz books, you will pull these things up. So shortly before his book came out, there was a $2,500 purchase to the retailer Books A Million. And then a little bit after his book came out, there was a second payment to Books A Million. This one was for $21,000. And then in the first week of December, his campaign paid a company called the Richard Norman Company, which is a political fundraising and communication agency, paid them another $29,000 for books. Now, I reached out to the Richard Norman Company and didn't hear back. I reached out to Cruz through a spokesperson. They did say they wouldn't confirm if the purchases were for his books, but they did say that he receives no royalties from his books, including those purchased by the campaign.
Zach, before we dive a little deeper into this story, I would like to take a stroll down memory lane with you, if you will. Like I intimated at the top, this isn't the first time you and I have been talking about Ted Cruz's books. You've done some reporting on it before, and you wrote for Forbes in September that he was cleared by the FEC of misusing campaign funds for book promotion. So what's the backstory there?
Yeah, thank you for asking me about that, actually. I was going to include something on that in the story and didn't. It was just kind of getting away from me by including this tangent. But a complaint had been filed against Cruz for misusing campaign funds on his books. And this was not for actually purchasing the books, but it was for using campaign funds to advertise on Facebook, encouraging supporters to go to retailers to buy his book. And the FEC had previously ruled that it's okay for lawmakers to include a little ad on their website about their new book, as long as it's nothing substantial. Just putting a small ad up there isn't really going to take anyone's time. But in this instance, Ted Cruz pushed it out there a little bit and used campaign funds to purchase ads, including encouraging people to go to retailers. So a complaint was filed on this, and originally they found that the FEC found that, yes, this did violate the rules. And then when they reached out to him with a preliminary ruling, after that, he said, "Oh, I am donating the proceeds from that all to charity, so not a problem." And then his he directed his agent to donate the money, and in which case, after that happened, they said, "Okay, there's no problem here." So, reading between the lines on that, it certainly sounded like there was a problem until Senator Cruz decided to donate the proceeds. What's very interesting here is that I looked at Facebook's ad registry for his latest book, and it looks like he did not spend any campaign funds advertising his book through retailers. So maybe lesson learned on that one. He has advertised his book, though, encouraging people to donate money to his campaign and get a copy of that book. So clearly the campaign has a significant amount of books that it's giving away. $50, a donation 50 or more will get you a copy of the book. It'll be autographed for 100 or more. And that ad has been up for months.
Can you talk about the legality of that? Because what does that look like? Because this is a barter system almost. Donate a certain amount of money, you get a book. Donate more, you get a signed copy. Is there any legal questions, ethical questions perhaps?
As long, the FEC has said that a campaign can buy the books as long as the candidate doesn't profit from the transaction. And so typically the way that's done is it's either the books are purchased directly from the publisher at cost, or they're purchased through a retailer, either at a wholesale rate, or if there is any sort of profit that would be going to the author would need to donate that to a charity. So we're kind of trusting here that Senator Cruz's spokesperson said that they followed the laws as required there. We don't know for sure. They're saying it. There's no audit on any of that stuff. Whether it's ethical or not is a whole nother issue. One of the big things that stands out with the book deals is even if they're not getting royalties from that deal, it still can help them. If you're going in to negotiate a book deal with a publisher, that publisher's going to know that you have campaign funds that you can make a bulk purchase. If you go in there to negotiate and they know you can drop $50,000, $90,000 on your own book, they might be inclined to give you a better advance. They might be inclined to give you that book deal in the first place. And the book purchase can certainly help you get your book on the bestseller list. Now, yes, it's flagged with a dagger, so people who read the fine print will see, oh, okay, this is, he was helped by bulk sales, but it still gets the book in front of people. And even that, I believe it's only on the hardcover nonfiction list that has that. So if you were to look at I think it's the New York Times list that includes ebooks as well, they don't use daggers on that one at all. So if he was to use a bulk purchase that got him on that list, it wouldn't be flagged at all. So there's certainly ways that the lawmaker can benefit here from using campaign funds to buy their own book.
And obviously you can call yourself a New York Times bestseller, and that wouldn't include the dagger in that title. And as you've noted, there are a lot of indirect benefits here, even though technically there are no direct ones. But is this a theme with Ted Cruz's books? He had 2 other bestsellers, One Vote Away and Justice Corrupted.
One of them it was like this one in that we can pretty much show that, shortly after his campaign spent a lot of money on books. The other one, it was flagged with a bulk purchase, but I was never able to exactly nail down who made that bulk purchase. I didn't see anything directly from his campaign. Could have been I missed it, but it's a recurring issue at this point. I mean, it's the smart business move. If you don't care about the ethics, if there's nothing holding you accountable, when you're in the Senate, when you're a lawmaker, get a book deal. Go ahead, write the book, and then say, I'll buy X amount with my campaign funds, and then use those books to then generate more campaign donations that you can then use to buy more books of yourself the next time around. It's a great little cycle there that Senator Cruz is doing.
How profitable is this cycle here? Can you talk to us about how much his book deal was worth and how much he's been making from book sales?
Yeah, since he's been in the Senate, he's made $1.8 million as an author, and that's through 2022, according to financial disclosures that he's filed. And his last deal was a nice one. He got a $1.1 million advance for a 2-book deal. So, $550,000 advance right there for the book. That's more than the annual pay for a senator.
I was just going to ask, as you noted, this sounds like a very profitable side hustle, but what is a senator's salary? How much are they making a year?
Senators make $174,000 a year. So, put out a book every 2 years, you're basically more than doubling your salary right there. So yeah, it's not a bad deal. And he's not the only author in the Senate. Elizabeth Warren is a pretty prolific author. Bernie Sanders has published some books. I believe Tom Cotton's done likewise. What makes Cruz stand out, though, is that he seems to be using more campaign funds to buy his books than the others. So the Sanders has certainly done it as well, but I don't think it's been to the extent that Cruz has done it.
And are there any upcoming books for the Texas senator?
I would imagine. I think he still has a second one to do on that 2-book deal. So I would imagine that he's going to have another one going to get that advance. And then we'll see, next disclosure, we'll see if he's signed another book deal in the meantime.
And then I'm sure you will be reporting on it, and we will be covering it here on Forbes Newsroom. Zach Everson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.